David Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett. I had not intended to speak today, but I've been sitting here getting rather more uncomfortable about some aspects of this proposal. I don't propose to go into the complex practical issues which are well laid out by the Right Honourable Gentleman of Holborn and St Pancras in his, as ever, thoughtful input, and indeed by my Right Honourable friend, the member for Beaconsfield, both of them who outlined the issues and the complexities very well. Complexities I suspect will best be addressed by negotiation between the front benches, not something I often recommend. What concerns me today is really the issue of the Home Secretary herself exercising this power. I am concerned that it comes about without a prior judicial approval or indeed being a power of the court, which would be my preference. Over time on counter-terrorism policy, I've become progressively concerned about the accretion of power to the state, fairly absolute power to the state. And absolute power of pretty important things. My honourable friend was suggesting that these were not impingements on people's liberty in the same way that a TPIM might be. Well, I'm afraid it's a pretty sizable impingement. And I don't necessarily disapprove of it at all, but I think it should be exercised with a degree of judicial care. I mean, over time, these accretions of power have come about really since the late 1980s and 1990s, when we avowed the various security services who were up until then not recognised in public policy, or at least not in the public domain. And at that time, it seemed quite reasonable for the Crown prerogative to be used as a method of giving warrants and as a method of enacting the state's will to protect the public. But what's happened, and I know because I took the 94 Secret Intelligence Service Bill through the House, I know we did not foresee the level of use, the number of warrants used, the level of power being exercised, as is now necessary in dealing with the Islamist terrorist threat. We never foresaw it at all. What is more, we didn't really give much thought to how it might be abused, not that it is at the moment, but how it might be abused in the future, or just how many errors might occur, which does happen now. And we had at the back of our mind a sort of model of accountability which frankly doesn't work. I mean, the Minister of State on the front bench will be familiar with a number of times that he and I have had exchanges which amount to me asking him a question and him writing back something like, "I never comment on security matters." That's not a particularly good form of accountability for any sort of mechanism. So my concern is that along with progressive secrecy, secret courts and all the other things that we now have, a very weak level of accountability. This is simply, if you'll let me, I'm really coming to an end. If with the level of secrecy, the low level of accountability, the level of power accruing to the government, and I say this, I'm in no way criticising the Home Secretary, as I talk about this in any Home Secretary, any Foreign Secretary, any Secretary of State. The amount of power accruing to the government is enormous when you consider our historic liberties in this country. So for that reason, I am very attracted by new Clause 11. I don't know whether it's going to be pressed tonight or not, or whether it will come back in report stage, but I would ask the government to look very, very closely at the TPIMS model. I think it's very sensible, and I think the opposition front bench have made a very good case on that.